Alright, so in this video, we are going to learn about SSH or Secure Shell Host. So basically, it's a protocol, and when I say protocol, so protocol is a rule, right, which is used to define to do a certain task. So SSH is a rule which is used to connect the remote server securely, right, and basically it also includes in EC2, right. SSH is also used to take remote access for any system, but here specifically we would be talking about AWS EC2, right? Using SSH, you can manage your EC2 instance and can perform various administrative tasks, right? You don't need to have a physical access for that particular uh, server. You can directly take an SSH. And how you can take it? There is a public key and there is a private key. You are being provided with a public key that you will be able to use for the authentication purpose, that will match the private key, and that is how you will be able to establish a connection, right. At the end of this video, you will see a graphical representation where it will define how SSH work, right. Now let us see what are the various sort of troubleshooting things that you are going to face in future. These are the general scenarios where you'll be getting while doing SSH. In the coming video, we are going to resolve like a few of them, right. So the first and the most common is the permission issue. Whenever you're trying to connect to the VM, at that time you're supposed to check the public IP, whether you are entering the correct public IP or not, whether you are entering the correct username or not. But specifically if it is related to the key, it is specifically mentioning that there is not proper permission mentioned. It may be 777 or 6777. So you need to make sure that the permission is just read only. So you need to change the permission of the PEM file. That would be chmod 400, and here 4 stands for read, okay, 2 stands for write, and 1 stands for execute. But we just want it to execute. We just want a read only access. That's why we are giving the permission chmod 400 followed by the PEM file. Now second would be the security group configuration. Now as we are already aware of that, for taking SSH, port number 22 should be exposed. We need to validate that whether if everything is perfectly fine. You need to check. This should be a checkpoint where you're checking that the security group port number 22 is exposed, which will be helping us to connect to our VM, right. Third is the public DNS or elastic IP. You need to ensure that you are using correct public DNS or elastic IP for your EC2 instance. And the first and the last one is the username. So while taking SSH or the root access or the remote access, you need to make sure that you are using the correct username for the AMI which you are using, right. Now let's conclude the video with the best practices. So you need to make sure that you are using key pairs, right. We need to be always aware that we should always use the key pair for SSH access rather than the password, because it is actually enhancing our security. That's why we are making use of key pairs, right. It is very vulnerable to write the username and password, but however it is a best practice that you are using the key pairs, right. Moving forward with the limited IP address, so you need to limit the restriction of the IP addresses and the set of IP addresses. As you can recall earlier, I have been mentioning that the less the privilege given, the more the security enhanced, right. So that funda is also going to be applied on this specific one. So the next is the regularly rotate keys, right. So you need to regularly generate and use new SSH key pairs to enhance the security. And last is the multi-factor authentication. For additional security, you can consider MFA for accessing the AWS management console. Now, as I promised earlier, there would be a diagrammatic representation which will be making our understanding clear how does the SSH work. So as you can see here, there is an SSH client, which means here you are here, and this is the server that you want to access, right. So what we are doing, we are just going to take an SSH from here, right, and that is getting encrypted by that key, right, and here we are decrypting that key, and here we are getting the message, right. So that is how we are going to do the key exchange, and that is how the SSH works. Now in the following video, you are going to see how does SSH work. We are going to see how we can do an SSH from a Mac system to a Windows, from a Mac terminal to a Linux terminal. This is the same process that you can do on Windows itself, and it will work definitely fine. All right. So that was all about SSH. See you in the next practical demonstration. Thank you.